Well, quite a few people have been asking me to do a tour of my home cinema. I did say that I'd do it eventually, so here we are. When we first moved in, this room had yellow paint on the walls, but that first night we had our first screening in here. I think it was Mickey Mouse's 50th birthday party, which is a Super 8 400-foot reel. And that really is the origin of home cinema for me, is Super 8 film. It was really something quite special when I was young, and I still have an enormous Super 8 collection today. But in more recent years, about 15 years ago or so, 2004, 2005, home video projection improved to the point where I was able to enjoy it. It still wasn't really up to the standard of the best of Super 8 at the time, but a lot of it was at the least adequate, and so we could start enjoying discs in the home. And particularly when HD DVD and then Blu-ray came out, the picture quality improved markedly. And indeed today, Blu-ray is a major contributor to what my wife and I watch in this cinema. It's actually quite a small room, this. I think it's just over 8 feet wide, so the screen is only just over 7 feet when it's fully open. And the room is just over 12 feet, which is why we have a projection box at the back rather than in the room. And as far as I'm concerned, having the projectors at the rear of the screening room isn't essential. I really don't like seeing the beam of the projector in front of us. Never have and never will. To me, that's just not cinema. So the origins are in cinema here, so all the formats, all the screen ratios are catered for, and that is why the masking moves through every possible screen format that exists. Now, I know people are very interested in the moving mask in the curtains. Well, it's actually really simple how this is done. There's actually 3 curtain motors on here. One for the curtains, which is all the way down there. Don't know if we can see that. But anyway, that's down there. This one is for the side masking, and that one is for the top and bottom masking, and that's a slightly less powerful motor. And the reason for that is I wanted the top and bottom masking to move more slowly. For years I did underpower one of those larger curtain motors, but when I ordered a new one and it was that smaller one, I thought that's ideal. And how that works is it's a roller blind. The bottom mask attaches to the roller blind at the top and rolls onto the roller blind one way, and the top mask attaches backwards. So as one comes down, the other one goes up. It's quite simple, but until you've seen someone do it, it's not really obvious. So that's how all the masking works, just curtain motors. So top and bottom mask, side mask, curtains. People have often asked me about the sound system in here, which is very nice for the interest. It's actually THX Ultra, and I think a lot of people expect that I'm going to have the latest Dolby Atmos. I have looked at that, but it seems like an awful lot of work for probably no return really. And this is a Pioneer VSA EO7 amplifier, which is many years old now. But my God, the power that this puts out and the sound, even better than the previous VSA EO6, which I'd had for many years prior to this. Now, a THX amplifier isn't really much use unless you've got the correct speakers, and I was lucky enough to be able to invest many years ago in a KEF THX Ultra 5.1 system. I don't think I've ever heard anything quite like this in someone's home, but I'm sure there are better out there by now. However, one other reason for not going initially 6.1, although I did go 6.1 for a while with a lesser amplifier just to try it out, and it didn't do anything for the sound. Not really because the amplifier wasn't any good, but because I couldn't really fit another one of these speakers on the wall behind me. So I had to put a smaller speaker up there, and it just messed up the sound really. So When it comes to Atmos, that would mean another 4 speakers here and downward firing speakers in the ceiling here, and where my wife and I tend to sit to watch a film in here, which is in these seats that were specially made for us by Broccoli Upholstery, who sadly were not in business when I went to buy 6 more from them. But you just can't tell from the back there where the sound is coming from a lot of the time. And the other thing with THX, the tweeters in these THX speakers are multi-directional firing speakers, which means that it fires the sound all around the room, and that is a function of THX. To get the licensing from Lucasfilm, you have to have multi-directional firing speakers as well as all sorts of other specifications that you have to meet. So this is the full THX system. The subwoofer was pretty enormous at the time, or considered enormous. Quite a big woofer on there. 17-inch. So it's too big for this room really, as you can imagine, but it is quite special when you're sat in here sometimes and it sounds like there's a juggernaut coming through the room and the room is shaking. So it can be quite an experience to be sat in here. All the masking is cardboard with black velvet stuck around it. I've found over the years it's better to staple this in place because the sticky tape does come adrift, but it really is string and sticky tape in the main that holds everything together. I've got a few guides that I've run down the wall so that the masking runs true to where it should, because otherwise it starts bowing out and in and all sorts of things like that. So also with this mask that I've done here, pretty much a plastic frame with card over it, and that keeps the weight down as light as possible. And then I've covered it with black velvet, and the main reason for black velvet is because black velvet is very good at absorbing light, so any stray light around the projected edge means you get a sharp edge to that projection. And with a black border on the white screen, it's a best surface for a screen, with the black border, that fools the human eye into thinking the contrast ratio is higher than it really is.
Starts man on a mission 500 million miles into space.
All the motors and the lights are controlled by an X10 controller, so open the curtains. Move the masking. And it's that way so you can just sit in your seat in the audience and control things without having to get up and pull cords, things like that. So I think that concludes this little tour of our home cinema. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and perhaps consider subscribing so I'll be encouraged to produce similar content to this in the future. We've got a lot of reviews planned, and also a 4K versus 2K, which I'm getting some other enthusiasts to look into as well, because in doing all these reviews so far I've been surprised really how good some of the 2Ks are compared to the 4K. And in a few cases I think they're actually better. So I hope you'll join me again in the future. Until then, happy viewing, stay safe, and bye bye for now.